I'm Nadira Tudor, and this is The Fall of Kabul, a soldier's story. Was it worth it? Jacob, let's start with the moment that Kabul fell, and if you could share with me where you were when you heard the news, what you were thinking, and what flashed through your mind.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing when you see the thing blasted on the news. But I mean, we were here, stationed over here, get to see it. It was difficult to watch because you know of everything in the background that's typically happening, not necessarily what's showing. So, and then also being there for a very short time, but there you understand the people and that are there and what they're going through as well. But yeah, very difficult situation to watch.
Why was it so difficult to watch?
I mean, just to see what was on the news and how it kind of unfolded the way it did. But I think, and you see all the different comments with people and how they describe it, and the frustration or the against it or for it. So it's felt difficult at first to give my opinion about it. I was happy that it was happening. It was a progression, but then also frustrated because all the time, all the effort to kind of help seemed like it was going to be going away. So yeah, a lot of emotions. Yeah.
A whole mix of emotions.
Yeah.
You say you were happy to see it happening.
Yeah, just the transition, I think, is like maybe the next step to try to, not to say normalize, but just try to get to where it needs to be. But then the reality was different on what actually seemed to happen. Because of course, if you're not there, you don't really know 100%, but you just see what's on the news.
You were watching the news from a different perspective though, weren't you? Because you had been there. Mm-hmm. So I'm imagining that you were, as you said a little bit, thinking about what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, just everything that it takes. There's just so much that a lot of, when it comes to the military side, or not even just the military, but logistically with something like this, there's a lot of work that goes on, all over the place. So a lot of people were frustrated about, we leave all this stuff over there, but you don't really know the details of why or what happened or the decision-making process. So we try not to get tied up in that and frustrated, just to know that it's all for a good reason. That's the hope, at least. Yeah.
Are you able to give some examples of what does happen behind the scenes? Because I'm just trying to picture situations that we're not seeing on the news or in the media.
I mean, just the logistics of when you make a decision like that, getting people out of the country. That if you say, okay, we're done as of this date, how do you transition out of the country with something like that? Especially when people agree and disagree with it, and there could be fighting in situations that are happening. So there's a lot of planning, a lot of things that go into the behind the scenes. Examples, I would just say, just an example would be the logistics of getting members out safely and transitioning to where we are no longer there.
And I'm just using a little bit of my own knowledge because I have worked with the military for a number of years, or have done in the past, and found the logistics side quite fascinating, actually. Mm-hmm. And I realised how totally unaware I was of the amount of work that went into that. So it's little things, isn't it? Like, what do I take? How do I get onto the transportation? What transportation do I get? The hours of queuing, waiting for that. Hours and hours and hours.
Hurry up and wait.
And then things changing like that.
Yeah.
Can you expand on what I'm trying to explain, what I'm
I mean,
trying to describe.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. Yeah, I mean, it's like the hurry up and wait for. I mean, military side, you plan, you plan, you plan, you plan, you communicate all over the place, and then it's going to be completely different. So you have to have that resiliency that they teach us in the or try to instill us in the military, to just be flexible, be resilient, try to have the best mindset possible, and do the best you can in the situation. But yeah, there's a lot of planning, a lot of leadership decisions, a lot of communication from the top to the bottom, and then also implementation of everything. And then hopefully that goes smoothly. If it doesn't, then you got to adapt and adjust. But yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
But you know, don't you, how much can go wrong?
Yes.
And
yeah.
I bet you were thinking about, oh my God, how are they coping with this now?
Yeah, I mean, just to see, and you're only seeing the snapshot, from the media. So unless you're physically there and know somebody that was there, that went through it, you really don't know. We don't know 100%. But I can only imagine, that it was a very, very difficult transition.
I want to go back now and understand why you decided to join the military initially. What was your background? Why did you make that decision?
Just not necessarily stuck, but was indecisive with my life. Around 9/11 is around the time when I joined. I'm almost been in 20 years at this moment. I actually as of January, but I have family members that served in the military. So I had some that were in the Navy, and then also the Air Force. So I decided to join the Air Force. I was more doing a landscape job at home. Wasn't happy with it. Wanted to travel, and then also I had I love my country and wanted to be of service and help where I could.
And you say it's nearly been 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Could you even imagine what kind of career and life you were embarking on?
No, there's no. I mean, family members try to tell me, of course, they've served. They try to give me examples and just to be aware of my decision and what I'm doing. Talk to my parents about it, and they were very supportive, thankfully, even though they didn't necessarily, they were more scared and didn't like it, but they were very supportive. So I had that, especially with my brothers as well. So I think I try to ask as many questions as possible beforehand, but there's no book. You can ask as many questions as you want, but serving in the military is it's really an experience. And then it's just something different than anything else.
And your experience in Afghanistan, let's go into a few more details about that. How was it?
It was tough. So I'm, U.S. Air Force, my job is typically a support job, so I'm not in the operational side, going out and doing missions and stuff like that. So where the planes go, typically for the most part, I would go to be a support asset. So a tasking came down for, they called it a jet tasking at the time, Joint Expeditionary Tasking, where the Army needed support, and we were able to fill Army positions. So as a U.S. Air Force member, I volunteered for an Army position, do convoy duty, and filled that gap for 7 months in southern Afghanistan. So
you were on the ground?
Yes. Yeah, I was driving Humvees, not driving, but being a part of a team. The Army unit was the lead, and we were helping and assisting in whatever situation that we could. But it was a very difficult deployment. It was an eye-opening experience, like I was telling you earlier. It gave me perspective for my life, not only in the military, just in life.
Why?
It's just not, the culture there. I mean, the people there are great. I had some great experiences with the people when it comes to communication. If we have, interpreters that would communicate, we would talk and have meals with families. But just on a daily basis, you don't know if you're going to live. You know, you drive down the road in a convoy, and you wonder if the animal that's covered, you know, has a bomb on the side of the road. Or if you see some asphalt that looks disturbed, it could be means of a dangerous situation. So every day when you're traveling or you're moving, that's in your mind. So you're never going to be the same.
When you realised you were in that situation, let me rephrase. When did you realise you were in that situation when you got to Afghanistan? And how was it obvious that you could die at any moment? Because that's very dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the training is training. You know, like there's only so much you can do to give you that feel that it's real. So building up to it, we had requirements for the Army to do training to try to get familiar. But it really clicked at, you know, boots on the ground in Afghanistan. In the Kandahar area is where I landed. And our first, you know, briefing prior to travel, intelligence brief, is I think when it clicked, because you hear the possibilities. The intel, if you will, on what could and couldn't happen, and just to have a game plan in case something were to happen. So that initially was probably my the real initiation of okay, yeah, this is 100% real.
As the situation unfolded, which I'm guessing is as soon as you got there.
Mm-hmm.
How did that sink into your brain? Can you remember how you felt?
I mean, at the time, I didn't have a family. I was single, but I had my family back home, my friends. You just kind of go down those thoughts, you know. Did I do enough? You know, or if something were to happen, was I the person that I wanted to be before this moment?
What were the answers?
Yeah, I mean, yes, and of course no. I mean, I'm young, so I mean, at that point, life was still lots of life ahead of me. So, besides going to college, which I really didn't do, it wasn't for me. I wanted to do something more, so that's where the military came in. But yeah, I would say it got real at the moment when that happened, and just going down my life at that point, thinking about stuff. But then you don't want to do it too much because you kind of get clouded when you're there.
And when you're young,
mm-hmm.
actually,
yeah.
Would you say there was a little bit of naivety there?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, just you're young, dumb, right? Like, I was very motivated and wanted to help. I think I would do the same, having the perspective that I have now, volunteering for that position. It was met a lot of great people. Got to work with different, American units and learn about the different Department of Defense and stuff like that, and how, U.S. Air Force is different from the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and then also the international side of it with different countries that were there supporting. And then, like I said, including Afghanistan and the locals, even the Egyptians that were close to us as well. So I got a lot of stuff that I got to experience, which was great.
Now, trust is a big question in those situations, and I've obviously talked to a number of soldiers and worked with them during or before they deployed,
mm-hmm.
and not being able to identify the enemy as it was. In reality, when you got there, because you did all that training before you went, but when you understood your situation once you were there, because you can't really understand until you're there.
No.
How did that affect you, and are you able to describe any situations that you found challenging, difficult?
Yeah, it's the enemy is unknown. Yeah, it's just very, very difficult. You have your head on a swivel. No matter if you feel that you're, the person that's there to help you do the same thing could be your enemy. I mean, thinking of situations. I can't remember the forward operating base that we were at, but I was pushed to a, even if you will, even more forward operating base, very small, tight knit unit, to where there was only, I believe, 4 Americans there, and really we're just communication, logistical support, and the ANA, Afghan National Army, at the time, they were our security, 100%. So we had no military of any sort, I guess U.S. military or partner nation that was providing our security. So that was difficult. I didn't sleep too much for that time frame, just because of the reports and things that have happened with internal attacks. So something like that. Thankfully, nothing happened in that moment when I was there, but they had happened before and after, depending.
I'm just trying to imagine how that must have felt, because you basically didn't trust their national army.
Yeah, it's difficult to say that because there's a lot of great people in their national army, and you try not to think everybody is like that. Of course, it's the minority, but you have to be smart enough to have your head on a swivel and be protective at all times, 24/7, 365, just because of the possibilities.
You must have been terrified to sleep then.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough during those moments. Thankfully for me, it wasn't a very long time frame for me. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to transition and to relax and to trust, especially when you, for instance, going to sleep at night. Whether you're going to have protection at the small gate that you do have, to let you know somebody comes in or tries to attack.
Do you think that changes your personality, living with so much mistrust?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue it not changing me, because it's just hard to deal with when I was there. I mean, even years later, I mean, it's been a lot of years I've been away from Afghanistan, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, or think about it and have it in the back of my head. For years it was hard for me driving down the street without thinking I was looking for stuff on the side of the road, wires or something like that. Even to this day I still think about it. So yeah, very difficult.
Quite emotional.
Yeah, I have gotten to the point where it's been so many years because the emotions kind of went away. I'm just very thankful. I mean, I'm not in that situation a lot like a lot of military members are. There's a lot of members that's what they do all the time, every time they go out the door. I got a very small one-time glimpse that I volunteered for, and I'll never take it for granted. I can't imagine what the ones that are always doing it are dealing with. And my just one time, yeah, very difficult, hard.
You say a short period of time. 7 months to me in that situation seems like a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, though, it's with the units, and they're there for years. They could be there for years for a deployment. U.S. Air Force, we have typical time frames depending on your job. Of course, there's some U.S. Air Force assets members that's what they're always doing as well when it comes to special operations or support. But for me, in my job, my background, it's not likely that I'm in those situations a lot, unless the volunteer opportunity comes up, that the need is there. But yeah, went by slow. The 7 months went by slow.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Now, you said that it changed you for life. So you go in, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a young, happy-go-lucky young person.
Yeah.
How did you come out?
I mean, I'm very thankful, relieved that I'm not there at first, just because of the chances that every day present. Whether it's VBID, vehicle-borne device running into your convoy, or a individual running through the gate with a vest.
Did you see that?
I didn't. I mean, it happened at our forward operating base, and also in our. We were near Kalat City, is where I was. So Kandahar, they had at the time. I don't know if it's the same now, but there was one road that circled the whole country. So like, there's really no. You can drive off the beaten path and dirt roads, but if you're sticking to a concrete road, you had one road. So from Kandahar to Kalat, which was, I think, if I remember correctly, an hour and a half to 2 hours on the road for a convoy, which is a very long time. But in our local village, yeah, we had suicide vests, suicide bombers. Also, vehicle-borne as well, on convoys. Attacks during the training missions that our team would go out on.
Are there any incidents that have really stuck out in your mind that you don't want to remember, but obviously are very vivid?
I know we had a couple members, pass away, on a convoy. So it's hard to think about, especially when you're in a forward operating base and you're kind of close. You're close to a lot of. It's not like a huge area, so you're close to a lot of people. We had a couple members that that passed away due to an attack. We had one lucky gentleman. The Kevlar helmet, the helmet that he was wearing, when they were engaging, the bullet actually went inside his helmet and went around his helmet and lodged in the inside of the helmet. So it just, obviously he was very, very lucky. But I guess, the attacks on the convoys were a big thing. Thankfully, the first day there was probably the biggest situation for us when we got mortared, our unit or our area. The first night we were there, it's like they knew we were switching out people. We got mortared. It was I believe it was 8 or 9 mortars within a very close proximity of our forward operating base. And that was, once again, another eye-opening, this is where I'm at.
Did you feel like you wanted to go back at that point?
I mean, I didn't feel like I had a choice, right? Of course, yeah, I don't think anybody wants to be...
But you'd signed up for it?
Yeah, I mean, I volunteered, and as hard as it is to go through at that time, it's a oh crap moment. Like, okay, like this is, what's next, and the training that comes in the worst case scenarios. At that time, we were part of a quick reaction force, to where if this happens, the unit has to go out from the base to take care of the situation. And we all lined up in my first week there, and I was in a quick reaction force to go out and find this person that's doing it. Thankfully, at the time, there was another unit already out there, and they couldn't track down the individuals, from my understanding. And then, so we didn't have to really engage, but very difficult to go through. And blessed, once again, I'm here today and can talk about it.
But those 2 that passed away, must have been a massive wake-up call. And how did you feel afterwards or during?
Yeah, it's just I mean, you don't want to hear about that, of course, and you don't want anybody to go through a situation like that, and yeah, I think you know, if you don't see, or you don't you know, I didn't experience the members that passed away a lot. It was because quickly when we initially got there. So what I experienced is what the vehicle that came back was in our lot, and we had to take care of the vehicle. And you cannot not see stuff.
What did you see?
Just the results of what happened, the attack. You know, blood, stuff like that. It all, it's hard to, it was hard to see. And then just to keep moving on, to try to keep doing the best we can in whatever situation that we come up with, and hope that you make it home to your family. Yeah. But yeah, it's been so many years. I mean, the emotions are pretty much, I don't know. It could be a part of the emotion. My wife and I don't show a lot of emotions, and I don't know if that's why. I mean, I remember younger as showing a lot of emotions. Now I really don't. I don't know if that's a part of it, but.
Do you feel you withdrew?
Yeah, I think a part of you have to, and just know that you obviously know there's a possibility that you're not going home, and you have to be prepared for that and be okay with that, and a way to function. Because if you're constantly worrying about dying or going through a situation, then I don't know if you can handle the stress. I mean, the anxiety with that brings. So you try to have fun with it and have a sense of humor, and sometimes it's a dark sense of humor that most people don't understand. But
that is the wonderful thing, though, isn't it, about the communities that you form, the close relationships in those very extreme life or death situations.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a community. It's a family. You don't necessarily know what everybody's going through, and of course, you know, but you bond in those situations. Yeah.
If we look at the overall situation, because it was such a specific experience, as you said, and it ended very quickly. How do you feel about it now? And do you think that it was worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, no matter where you go, whatever situation, there's great people out there. And in Afghanistan, there's wonderful people in Afghanistan. Some of the interpreters that we had with us were the greatest type of people. And you hear their stories of what they're doing and what they're putting on the line, and what the threats that they're getting every day, and their families being kidnapped or possibly killed because they're supporting this situation, like, and just to hear their stories, you know, was amazing during that time frame. But you know, to see everything and how it went down, you can't help to think about all those, you know, the good people and the whole purpose why you think that you're there to help and support, and try to transition the bad people out of the way. Then you leave and it's all back. So it's kind of hard to think about, and to think of the transition, and was everything a waste? And like I said, I only can speak for one situation. I can't imagine what, you know, soldiers or Marines or you know, whatever the military members that have served so many other times, and what they've given to help support. I can't imagine what they think about it. No.
Was it worth it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and like I said, it opened up perspective for me, and it changed my life drastically. I think even if some things might be a negative thing for for a couple of years, it was hard for me to transition a little bit. I didn't really talk to anybody about it. It wasn't the thing to do at the time. Now it's more, more out there and open, which is great. But I transitioned with it as I thought was best, and it worked for me. But absolutely, I mean, I don't, the time frame that we were there and how many people maybe were able to not die and be alive and thrive and try to live, and I think it's absolutely a great thing that it was worth it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking to us. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult, and like I said, I was back there in 06 and 07, so it's been a lot of years since I was there.
Doesn't go away though, does that kind of thing?
No, it doesn't go away. I mean, you don't, I mean, there's nothing that, it doesn't go away with getting attacked or the possibility of somebody taking your life. It doesn't, but in those moments you do the best you can, and you support the guys and girls that are around you, and then also the locals that are there, and try to help the best that you can with whatever the day brings. Yeah. So.
Thank you. How long is that?
32 minutes.
Yeah.
A bit less.
It goes so, see,
Yeah,
it's
it goes
so quick, isn't it?
Yeah.
How you,
Anything else that you can think of, or, I mean, I'd try to give examples, but it's...
have a think, because let's see if we can get a date where you're free, where I can give you a call. Would be great. And I think you've got my email address, haven't you?
I think so, yeah, from the emails that he sent.
So with anything that you want to email me on that thread.
And you just say, like, pictures or anything like that?
Yeah, anything that you think is relevant.
Thank you.